bulgogi barbecue, baked potatoes, power bowl, and some sort of a dill pickle salad that was on sale. The history of ancient Rome is what we're going to be talking about. And I'll get started on that, but I don't really have much to say because I didn't take notes and I was just writing poetry while I was watching it. I think Professor Garrett G. Fagan is adorable. In the picture his hair is smoothed out, but in the Great Course his hair is really funny. It looks like some sort of a cowlick thing going on up top, and it's really cute to watch. So he looks kind of like a nervous little boy who's giving a presentation, which just makes it more awesome, right?
But he does know stuff, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, he knows stuff.
Sometimes people get nervous when they don't know their stuff.
No, he knows it. Like, you can tell with a lot of the Great Course guys that they're reading off of like teleprompters or something, and they're looking right at the camera. Well, he's not. He's like really nervous. He's like moving around and his hands are going and whatever. But you can tell he hasn't written this stuff down. He just knows it. And so he's just talking it off. And honestly, I didn't really get into it until about lecture 5. So he was talking about the kings of Rome, and
they actually did have kings, yeah?
Apparently. So there were 7 kings listed. I remember this. And he was saying there's actually some controversy about it because their names are, for one thing, they're 7, which I guess the number 3 and the number 7, they're like these special numbers. So the number 7, just that there were 7 kings, makes it seem a little like, were there? And so
4s are special numbers. Lots of numbers are special. 5s
so then
are special numbers.
He said, well, I forgot where I was going with that.
Sorry. Anyway, 7 numbers, special kings.
Kings. So the reign of the kings, the length of the king's reign was about 35 years, and he said that's too long.
He got that right.
Yeah,
That's good.
he said, so people are looking at that and going, well, it's too long. So were there more than 7 and they just cut a few out so there could be a special 7, or
No.
or do you need to cut that out of like the history? Is the reign length too long? So should it, whatever it was, 200 and some years or something, should it have actually been, less? 180 or I don't know what.
245, I'm figuring. And
So-
it should be average rain length less than 15 years. We'll go with 15 though. 15 times 7 is, I think, 105. Let's just see how it is. Yeah. 105.
And another thing, they have king such and such the first, and then they have king such and such the second. And it's like, okay, well, obviously he wasn't called king such and such the first.
No.
Because they couldn't have known that there was a second before, right? And so that looks suspicious. And then the names that they
Did
have.
he say that seems suspicious? It's just
I don't know.
people later on started numbering the first one. They had records, right?
Sure, I don't know. But anyway, so he was talking about that.
So was one of these guys called Tarquin?
Probably.
Okay, because they weren't really Romans, they were Etruscans. Where was he talking about that?
Well, he was talking about
Foreigners.
how, like, he mentioned something about, like, Rome. There was the first guy who he conquered, I can't remember, Romulus?
Romulus and Remus,
And
they were brothers.
he conquered his neighbors, and so then he's the first king, right?
Okay, so he's actually using people that are Rome's named after Romulus, if I'm not mistaken, right? So these are real kings, not of Rome, not. We don't know how real they are. They're claiming they're mythic or legendary.
Well, some of them came from different places
Mm-hmm.
because, like the number 1 and 2 guy, whatever their names were, they came from somewhere else. And
well, okay, I think
he explained the whole meaning of like how the Roman names worked and how the middle one was actually the important one. That's like your clan is the middle, and the last one is kind of like a nickname, and the first one is your given name, right? So
kind of weird, yeah.
yeah,
It gets to be a problem when you're later Roman history and you get different writers using different names for the same guy.
And you may have noticed that James isn't wearing his mask. I have told him not to. I am not worried about it. We'll see if
Yeah,
I
see
mean
if she
this
comes down.
backfired on me in the fall. So, but we'll see.
So she's caught some sort of plague off of me. We're not going to say
In the
what
past,
we think it is.
And wow, did that ever cause some problems for a long time? And then, I mean, it was crazy though, because he'd been sick for 2 months, and I thought,
a week.
no way
Yeah.
that I'm gonna catch it after 2 months. That's nothing, there's no way I could.
More than 9 weeks.
Oh yeah, I did.
Some sort of a
And
plague, but we're not going to say what it is.
Now, I mean, how long have you been sick with this time?
As of yesterday, it was 3.5 weeks.
Yeah. So I don't know. He seems okay.
Well, it's not a bad sort of thing. My
Yeah.
sister thought it was strep throat. Thank
I don't know
heavens
what
it's
it
not
is.
strep throat. Every time I've had strep throat, I've had a sore throat. No sore throat.
Okay. So anyway, I don't know. Did you want to talk about Rome at all, or?
There's lots of things to be said about Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Generally, people get all sorts of things wrong. I suppose these are the experts too.
This is one of the older grade courses, I should point out. It's $19.99.
Oh.
So you still have the window in the recording room that looks out at a brick wall. So that's all.
I love that brick wall. That brick wall's incredible.
Yeah.
You could have put anything there, but it's a brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so go ahead and talk about Rome. There's Regal Society. I'm now on disc 2, and I've went through quite a bit of it. So, if any of those subjects interest you,
Well, we'll start off with Romulus and
already,
Remus.
yeah, I've already covered that stuff. So you may as well go ahead and talk about whatever you want.
I've got you've covered it, but I'll kind of recover it or something like that.
So go ahead.
Anyway, they date Romulus and Remus. Maybe is it 753 or something like that? I think the first Olympic Games was 776, and then they say, it's maybe 20, 25 years or so after the start of the Olympic Games. The Olympic game list was compiled very late, and it was compiled by a guy from the northwestern part of the Peloponnese, and a place called Elis, however you want to mispronounce it. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't been able to prove it, even to myself, but I'm thinking what this guy did, see, Elis for a while had their own Olympic Games. They controlled Olympus, or not Olympus, Olympia, different place. Olympus is a mountain. Olympia is a place in western Greece where they had the Olympic Games. But not all the time. I suspect there was a time when Elis lost control of Olympia. I think this is how the story goes. And what they did was they had their own Olympic Games. They had competing Olympic Games maybe for 100 years. So this guy is compiling the list of Olympic Games later on, much later. He's going, I want this to go as far back as possible. We Elians, or Eleans, people from Elis, we control them. We want to show that we got a long history, longer than Athens perhaps, going back not to the heroic ages, but a while back there. I think they ended up, see, the principle is, what happens, what sort of a chronology? Some people should never be put behind a wheel of a car. Talking about the sound effects in the background there. Anyway, What sort of a chronology would you have? Chronology is a backbone of history, just dates. What sort of chronology would you have in the United States if all you had was not a king list, but a president list of the United States of America, the continental states of America? Now understand, there's one more president than you might think. Between 1861 and 1865, who's that? Jefferson Davis. What would happen is that if that's all you had, you actually didn't have the dates for these guys or anything like that. You just had a king list, a president. But it applies. This principle applies to king list. You'd go along till the predecessor of Abraham Lincoln. You have Abraham Lincoln possibly, then Jefferson Davis, and then you'd have who followed. There was Johnson, who's the vice president who took over from Abraham Lincoln after he was assassinated, and then you'd have Grant. You'd have extra 4 years because of Jefferson Davis. And that's the trouble with king lists. That's the trouble with the Egyptian king